Hello YouTube, it's Akrit again, back with another video from the home studio. Today I'm taking on the Luna challenge, which basically means that I'm gonna make some music inside of Luna.
Accurate beats.
Alright, so first of all, Luna is this recording system software from Universal Audio that runs inside of your computer. So it's basically a digital audio workstation, or a DAW, but it has a bit more tricks up its sleeve than a normal DAW usually does, because Luna handles the DSP power inside of the audio interfaces from Universal Audio in a really clever and well integrated way. And the Luna challenge that I'm doing in this video is basically just that I'm gonna make some music inside of the software, even though it's kind of new to the market and definitely new to me. And there's also a list with some specific things that I need to do to the music that I'm making in this one, which is kind of cool. My plan here is to make one of my normal sample-based hip-hop boom-bap beats, put some scratch on it and see if it holds up. Honestly, I'm not completely new to this. I've had the software for a couple of weeks now, but I've also had this really bad cold that I needed to shake off before I did this video, so that's what it is. And this is the project. It's totally empty right now, and I could just start adding tracks and virtual instruments and stuff. But that's not what I want to do here. I want to do the most old school type of sampling workflow that I can think about in a software like this. I've done this a little bit before in here with a drum break and whatnot, but in this case I'm going to start with individual drum sounds and then add a sample. So first let me pull in a kick drum here, and the same thing with a snare, hi-hat and open hi-hat as well. And let me just move these around a little bit to create some sort of simple drum pattern. So now we have this really simple drum loop going that sounds like... Okay, so let's turn the snapping totally off and just move some of the notes a little bit off the grid. Sure, I could go into the swing settings of the sequencer and just add swing to it and do whatever like that, but this is more fun and I'm in more control of my actual rhythm of the drums like this. This is what I have. It's not perfect, but it's better than it was a couple of minutes ago. Let's do something about the sound of my kick drum here. Let's add some quick EQing. Let's do the Oxford EQ, and that's what it looks like. Let's cut some of my high frequencies on the kick and also boost some of the lower. Something like that. This is where I want to import my sample to get started with that stuff. So I think this could be a good time to try out the time shifting functionality in Luna. That is really powerful, especially to me who's not used to work with Ableton Live. This whole system of elastic audio that's built into Luna is super powerful. It's a bit later on here. That could be cool. So in this case, I have the option to go between the different transients of the sample with tab and then cut it up with B. Like so. Let's take that out. So let's chop it right there and right there and right there. I want this one too. Now this is going to take at least a couple of minutes, so let's fast forward to when I'm done with this. So maybe I went a little bit crazy here and took more slices from the sample than I'm going to be able to fit into my sequence, but you know, it is what it is. Let's listen to some of it. Okay, it doesn't make a lot of sense right now, but let me try to rearrange these chops in some sort of way that it works. Still in the middle of the process here, it still doesn't really make sense from a musical standpoint, but I think that I'm finding some kind of foundation here. Let's see if you can get this. If I'm just time stretching that over to where the next one hits, on the next 16th note over there, it should make more sense. Yeah, it does. Still super choppy, but I kinda like that sound. And for this one, I kind of like it, but I don't like it rhythmically, so this is where the warping stuff could come in quite handy. Let's select that one, let's change to view my warps, and here I am. This functionality is kind of new to me. It creates these different handles that I'm able to just hold and pull like this. Let's turn off the snapping. And I can see immediately that the lines here doesn't match up at all to my sequence. So I'm gonna try to fix that by putting this one over there, that one somewhere around there, maybe this one later as well. And let's listen again. Well, that's almost what I'm looking for, but not quite right. So let's take this one and move it over there. Is that too much? That's so much better. Let's do something similar with this one. Something feels off about it, so let's see if I can drag it like so, if that makes it better. Let's put this transient over there. That's a lot of time stretching going on, but maybe it's gonna hold up. Now let me stop myself right there real quick and let's just jump ahead of things a little bit, and let's not make this video into this 2-hour long session of me just working stuff out. I spent some time editing this audio and eventually I came up with 2 different patterns with 4 bars each that I felt comfortable with. Then I had to eat lunch and then eventually, yeah, 2 days later, I'm back at it. So let's have a listen to what I came up with. But first of all, I want to show you the different effects that I put on this sample track itself. First of all, an Oxford equalizer to take out some of the bass frequencies. That just allows me to add my own bass line further down the line. Then I have this multi-channel tape recorder effect that adds a bit of warmth to the sample and a bit of personality. I like that a lot for something like this. It's kind of subtle, but it's definitely there. And last but not least, I added this EP34 tape echo on the sample. It's basically a tape delay that adds a little bit of shimmer to the tail of the sample without being too intrusive at all. And it sounds like this. And the second one. Okay, cool. So that's my 2 different sequences with the drums and the sample. Now I'm gonna try to add more stuff to this. So here's a MIDI track called Piano with the shape instrument loaded up, and it already has this Ravel LT piano that I'm supposed to use for this challenge. So let's record some chords. Now, Luna doesn't have any separate windows for editing stuff, but instead I'm just hitting E and I get this really zoomed in version of what I just saw on the timeline. That's kind of cool. But all I want to do here for this one is to adjust some of my velocity values. Let's take those down. And that's it for that piano part. Now let's move on to the next instrument, and here I also have an instance of shape, but in this case I have 3 different bass sounds loaded up into one layered instrument. So the first one sounds like, the second one, and the third, and all of them together. So let's make a really simple bass line for this. So that'll do for the bass, and now let's open up a new track here, a new audio track. And I want to use the OP1 for this, so I have this really simple preset thing going on here that sounds like that right now. But I want to go into the mixer here and add some unison processing right over here. So I can choose from a bunch of different preamps and amplifiers and stuff, and let's try a few things out with this one. That's the clean one. That's one. Okay. I think I like that one. Let's also add some tape saturation on this one, just because I can. Let's also throw in an equalizer just to brighten up the sound a little bit. So we went from that to this. That way I think it's going to fit better into the mix. So now let's try to record the OP1 right here. So let's keep that melody, but let's turn down the volume of the track quite a lot because I just wanted to play somewhere in the background a bit. Next up, I'm going to use the Minimoog instrument because that's also a part of the challenge here. So let's add a new track and go for the Minimoog. So let's go for one of the different presets that it comes with. Let's try... No. So I don't know if I'm cheating right now in the challenge, but at least I'm using an instance of the Minimoog synth. I'm using it kind of like a pad or a string sound. I'm not going to play too many notes, but at least it's in there. Alright, and according to the list here, I need to add a few more things here to complete the challenge. First of all, I'm going to add another instance of shape. So let's use an electric jazz guitar for this one. It sounds like that, and I'm not going to use it too much in the sequence, but I need it in the second one rather than the first. Alright, so that's my last instance of shape that I need to put in here, so I think I'm done with the MIDI tracking by now. Now I just need to arrange this track a little bit to be able to add the last few things. Okay, so that's about a minute of music right there, but I also need to add another track with some unison processing, so I'm going to record like this really simple synth line on top of the secondary sequence here with my Jupiter XM. It comes into the track right here and also goes through this amplifier, so that's the unison processing. So let's go. Right, so now we can cross that one off the list too. Now all I need to add here is some Neve summing and of course some scratching, so let's do that. So on the master track over here, I want to add a console, the Neve summing one. So I want this switch to be on low. I'm giving myself a little bit more headroom and I'm taking down the trim a bit. And yeah, we went from sounding like this to sounding like this. So we're getting this warmer kind of sound that feels more glued together, and yeah, I like it. Which basically means that I'm done with the Luna challenge. I've done everything that I was required to do, and all I want to do now is to put some scratch on this one. So finally, let me wrap this video up by just, sharing a few of my own experiences of working with Luna for a session like this. Everything you saw in the video happened. Some things are cut out and some things are sped up. And as you saw, I spent a lot of time in the part where I was editing the audio sample. Luna doesn't have any built-in sampler instrument, which is kind of unfortunate, but yeah, I had to do everything with the audio sample in the timeline itself. And that's where I get access to the Luna warping stuff. That's really powerful and really came in handy for a session like this. But since I'm kind of new to the software, things just took more time than it normally does. But I think the result, the outcome, was really what I kind of wanted from this, and even a little bit more, because again, working with audio like that, being able to time stretch left and right without getting any hiccups or artifacts, It's kind of new to me, and it's really cool and powerful to be able to do so inside of a DAW like this. At least as far as I know, Universal Audio hasn't made a software like this before. It's their first DAW, and it's still kind of early in the process, but I definitely feel like I could use this professionally for kind of everything that I do. Kind of everything. And what I've found to be especially useful here is that I'm able to insert effects on the incoming audio that comes into the track before it gets recorded. Sure, that could be done in a lot of different softwares, but the way Luna handles the DSP power inside of the Apollo audio interface is kind of unique in many ways. So to be able to put an equalizer or a compressor or a reverb or whatever on the incoming audio without really affecting the CPU power of my computer means a lot to me, and it just gives me one less thing to have to take into consideration in the mixing process, because it's already burnt into the audio that I recorded. It's already applied and I can't really change it. To me, that's really cool, and it feels kind of like working with outboard hardware gear that I have to make decisions and I have to stand by them, and then I can edit on top of it, but I can't really change it. To me, that's just a really cool and positive thing. And I don't really think I have to mention this because people should know, but the audio quality from the Universal Audio plugins that works with the Apollo interface and stuff really sounds good. Super high quality stuff that's really useful for a lot of different things. So to have all of that in the box inside of Luna, yeah, I don't even know what to say. It's really cool to be able to have all of that stuff straight into the same system as you're building your track in. It's just really handy. I've used a ton of different DAWs since I started making music, and I feel like Luna has a lot of potential. I was able to do this whole thing inside of Luna, and I'm ready to make another session like this in Luna. So to be able to take the experience and knowledge I have from working with other stuff and transferring that to Luna, sure, it takes a little bit of time to get used to all the new commands and all the windows and stuff, but it definitely worked out, and I think it's laid out in kind of a logical way, and I like that. I'm also kind of a big fan of the shape instrument. It's really easy to get access to a bunch of different presets, and the fact that you're able to do multiple instances of sounds and instruments and presets and things and just create layered instruments inside of one instance of shape like that, it's really cool, and it's a nice and simple way to get like your unique sound, but you're still working with the different presets, but you're combining them and tweaking them a bit. Makes a lot of sense. And let's also take into consideration that Luna is a free DAW as long as you have one of their products. Sure, it's still early days for Luna as a platform, but I definitely see a lot of potential here. Some things needs to be improved a little bit, and some things could be, easier to have access to. And Universal Audio has, at least so far, made a really good job of putting out different updates for the Luna software. So who really knows where it's going to be in the future? Maybe it's going to be even more powerful and better than it is right now. And again, considering that it's free for people who has an audio interface from Universal Audio, I mean, it's really good. I'm sure you're going to see me working more with Luna in the future for making beats or for arranging tracks that I've made on Machine Plus or whatever. That's definitely going to happen just because Luna is really cool as it is. But as far as this video goes, I think we're done. So thanks a lot for watching this one. I hope to see you guys in the next one. Until then, ha det gott!
Accurate beats.